Well, wow, I just saw this one for women that were in the military and went through sexual assaults like so many of us did. They now have introduced a bill of $1 million VA payback, because what happens is, you don't file for many years after. It took 20 years to get my benefit for that. 20 years. And you file the first time and they deny it, and you have to file a second time and they only pay you from the second filing, not even back to the first time you filed. And in my case, it was the first claim was denied because they said, well, you've had prior trauma, so we're not going to pay you. You've had prior trauma. You suffered sexual assault before you went into the military. So, but then what happened, why they had to finally give me the benefit for it, was because I found their own study that if you have prior trauma and you suffer secondary trauma, you will develop PTSD. And for those that don't know, the only reason, that I've gotten better from all of this is because of my spiritual path. But when I started my spiritual path, I had severe PTSD. I couldn't even go inside of a place. I had to sit with my back to a wall. I had to see all entrances. It really, a lot of flashbacks, a lot of, reliving the trauma time and time and time again. And every time you relive it, it's like, it's like it's happening again. And when I went for it was so severe when I went for my, where you have to go for the what are they, they call it the comp thing. They said, this veteran, we cannot even question them fully because we are afraid they will go into a psychosis from this. It was so bad, I couldn't even talk about it. I would be like this. I would be like this. I would break down. I would be like, I couldn't function. And then, like I said, I went, and you're supposed to get help from there, and I had them actually say, go home and watch a soap opera. We have sick men we're treating here. Yeah, they actually said that to me. Then they said, well, if you want help, you can go in with the men to get aid. They're the ones that did that. That's like telling a guy that's suffering trauma when he was in Vietnam that he's got to go with all the Vietnamese to get treatment. I go, really? Are you out of your fucking mind? I couldn't even go to the VA for my treatment because all the men, they're in uniform and everything. I would just be like this. I would be like this the whole time. So, anyway, they've introduced the bill that to give back pay all the way from the time you were in service, because this is service connected. This is something that happened when you were in the military. Not 20 years ago, 20 years later, when you finally get the courage to file. Okay? So I did pull the cards on it to see what it says. And, of course, the first thing that came out is this toxic thing that you were, that you had to endure. And underneath of it, this is about this bill, trying to move it forward. Again, above it, this is charging forward with the ideology that those that had in Vietnam suffered from Agent Orange got back pay. Okay? And so what's above it, though, crossing it, is this a crushing wheel. This is a very difficult thing. This could be also contracts. It can be something that's very crushing that you're dealing with. going into it, shedding light on the past. What's going on now is kind of the takeaway, what they can get away with with it. Above it's the doorway, and we've had the short-term success. I mean, again, in my case, I filed the first time and they denied it. And then it was only due to their own study that I came in with and found their own study. I came in with it for the second filing, put it on the table. Now what are you going to do? And then at that point they had to approve the claim. Okay. So you have that short term, yeah, I got some compensation, but only back from the second time that I had to file. And during that time, you're not allowed to have lawyers help you. You're not allowed to have anything. You have to do it all yourself. Okay? And you go through all the comp things, the psychological evaluations, etc. And I have a file that was that thick back then. Due to so much PTSD and flashbacks and stuff that was happening. So what's going on now? The challenge is to get everybody on board with it. The outcome is the benefits. Okay, above it we have the community, and on the foundation, the heart of it, the heart of the community. Are they going to be supportive of this or not to get this bill through? Now, this is the first time I've heard of it, okay? But that would be a very good thing to happen, although with that much back pay, with that much people that have suffered that type of thing, I'm kind of at this point going, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But it's good at least that they're looking into this. Now, what's driving it underneath of it is the health of the benefits, what they're giving out, okay, for long term when it comes to what has happened with this, okay. And then we have underneath of it still the karma card going, okay, the wheel is turning on this. Because, when you have these claims, you have to prove it back to military service. Now, where I was stationed, I was the only woman that was stationed, other than nurses, which were way the other side of the base. There were only 2 of us women that were stationed there during Vietnam, okay, 2 of us that weren't nurses, and the nurses were all confined up to a different area. Okay, so, that's where that's at. So really they owe 20 years of back pay. Whether it'll ever come about is another story. That's something I never understood. When you have to prove that this is something that happened in military service, then how do they pay you? It takes 20 years to get it approved. Why? What happened in those 20 years? Okay. For those 20 years, you're just, absolutely a basket case. Depression, PTSD, flashbacks. You are so wounded that you basically can barely function. Okay, that you can barely function. So that's the stuff that I was dealing with, along with having Kundalini awakening, going through all of that as well at the same time. It was like, so, but I'll put the link for that. So I know that we do have other women veterans that watch this channel. I don't know what your case is, that if you are on disability, whatever, or what happened with you and your military service. But if you know of women veterans, this is maybe one to pass along. 'Cause I had no idea about this until today. I just ran across it and watched it, and was surprised to learn that this was for sexual trauma suffered during your military service. Okay. Now, another thing that happened when I went in, it was the 70, okay, during Vietnam. Now, I went in because I wanted to be supportive of the people there. But the viewpoint of there, we went through a lot of harassment on both sides, from the public and also from the military men. Their view back at that time was, there's a man on the front line being killed because of you, and you're either a lesbian or a whore, and there is no in between. So which one are you? Are you a lesbian or are you a whore? So that's what we went through during our service time during Vietnam era. And like I said, I was stationed at Qingjiangquang Air Base in Taiwan, in Taichung. It was only open, it's a Chinese air base, it was only opened to the American during Vietnam. And it was a place where the men would be coming in either from Vietnam for R&R, okay, or they were evac'd out there due to trauma, because there was the hospital there. We had the trauma hospital and stuff as well. So yeah, that, a lot of us during that time period really went through a ringer when it came to that. We go into it with a good heart to do something good, to be, supporting our country, supporting the men that, we felt so bad that they had to go in, that they had no choice. So you go in to be supportive, and then this is what you get back, okay? So it was a very difficult time. I'm only now, after 50 years, more than 50 years later, able to kind of talk about it without tearing up, without, Years ago, I couldn't speak about it. I couldn't, I would break down. I would start shaking. I would, I couldn't function. I couldn't speak about it. But like I said, the only reason that I became stabilized and able to get through it was because of my meditation and because of my spiritual path. But without that, I'm sure I would still be a basket case. Yeah. Yeah, there were times I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't function. Okay? Couldn't function. Anybody in any type of a uniform, whether it was police, whether I had to go to even automotive stuff, doing my automotive stuff. I remember going and I was just shaken. I couldn't even, anybody in authority type positions and stuff, I would just be freaking out. Could not deal with it. And this was for many years that, that this stuff was dealt with. Okay. So anyway, on that note, I'll leave that here. And there is the link in the description for those that are interested in this or being supportive of this bill, etc. And we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to hold my breath for this one to get that back pay. Yeah. I mean, it would be wonderful to get the back pay, which they should have given in the first place. Okay. Now, what back pay I got, instead of putting it toward a house or whatever at that point, I went to India and did my spiritual path, did what I needed to do. And that was the best decision at that time, because it broke through. It completed. I had that completion, and all of that stuff that was there really blew out. And I became stabilized. But, yeah, so I cannot tell you how important the spiritual path is for people, and meditation, and questioning, what is this I, questioning, looking at thoughts, where they come from, where they go to, what gives them reality. All of that was involved in this, in my own journey. So I'm just going to leave that here for now. Maybe more information that you wanted to know. We all have our own journeys here. Some of us take on a little more than others. But yeah, but we'll see. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you online.